It's the 21st day of the second month, in the 29th year of Pharaoh Ramesses III's reign. In a walled village on the west bank of the Nile, a group of tomb builders lay down their tools. They walk out of the gates, cross into the desert, and march toward the temples of Thebes. They are shouting one thing: "We are hungry." These are not slaves. They are some of the most skilled, most trusted craftsmen in Egypt, the men who build the tombs of the pharaohs, and they are about to stage the earliest labor strike ever recorded in human history. This is Deir el-Medina. Its modern name comes from a monastery built there centuries later. In ancient times, its own people called it something else. It sat hidden in a small desert valley on the west bank of the Nile, near Thebes, deliberately isolated from the rest of Egyptian society. The reason was secrecy. The men who lived here knew the location of every royal tomb, every hidden chamber, every trap built to stop grave robbers. So the state kept them separate, housed, fed, and paid directly by the crown, cut off from the ordinary economy. Around 68 houses lined a single narrow street behind their mud brick walls. Lived roughly the same families for generations: painters, sculptors, plasterers, and stonecutters, along with their wives and children. Work followed a strict rhythm. The villagers worked an 8- or 10-day week, split into two teams, a left gang and a right gang, with 2 days of rest at the end. During the working days, the men didn't come home. They climbed over the mountain ridge and slept in small stone huts directly in the Valley of the Kings, close to the tomb they were carving, only returning to the village on their days off. It was skilled, exhausting work. Chiseling corridors and chambers out of solid rock, then painting and carving them with scenes meant to last for eternity. And unlike most of Egypt, these workers didn't build with anonymous forced labor. This was a hereditary profession, often passed from father to son. Back in the village, daily life was unusually well documented, largely because these people could write. In New Kingdom Egypt, overall literacy is thought to have been only around 1 or 2%. In Deir el-Medina, however, most of the men in the village are believed to have been able to read and write. They used thousands of ostracon, broken pieces of pottery and limestone, as everyday writing material. On them, archaeologists have found shopping lists, love poems, medical complaints, sketches, prayers, and personal letters exchanged between neighbors. Barter was a regular part of village life. Sandals for baskets, painting an altar in exchange for a jug of beer, or helping to build a roof in return for grain. Small household shrines reveal a more private side of religious life, with prayers to protective deities such as Bez, guardian of the home, and Meretsiger, she who loves silence, the cobra goddess of the valley. And on their days off, some of these same artisans turn their skills to one final project, building their own tombs on the outskirts of the village. They were smaller than a king's tomb, but often just as beautifully painted, with scenes of family life, banquets, and the afterlife they hoped to reach. None of this ran on money. Egypt at this time had no coinage. Instead, the state paid these workers in rations, grain above all, but also fish, water, fuel, and linen, along with basic medical care when they were sick or hurt. It was a stable system as long as the grain actually arrived on schedule. And for most of the village's history, it did. But near the end of the reign of Ramesses III, it stopped. Egypt was under strain. An invasion by the so-called Sea Peoples had just been repelled. But the fighting had drained resources. Harvests were poor. And in the strict order of the royal bureaucracy, high officials were paid first. The workers of the necropolis came lower down the list. Their grain ration, already overdue, kept slipping further and further behind. Eventually, it stopped arriving altogether. The workers waited 18 days past their normal payday. Then they stopped waiting. Both work gangs walked off the job, left the Valley of the Kings, and marched to the mortuary temple of Ramesses III itself. They sat down. They refused to leave. And according to the scribe who recorded it, a man named Amenhotep, writing what we now call the Turin strike papyrus, they called out that they had been driven there by hunger and thirst, with no clothes, no fish, no vegetables to give their families. Officials tried to calm them, handed out a partial payment, sent them home. It didn't hold. Over the following months, the same scene repeated itself again and again. The workers walking out, staging sit-ins at temple after temple, refusing to return until they were paid what they were owed. Eventually, the payments stabilized. The strike worked, and with it, a small village of tomb painters and stonecutters left behind the oldest written record we have of ordinary workers standing up to the most powerful state on earth and winning. The men of Deir el-Medina spent their entire working lives preparing other people's tombs for eternity. But what did they believe was waiting for them on the other side? In our mythology series, we'll explore what these very craftsmen painted on the walls of their own tombs, and what it tells us about how they imagined the afterlife. If you enjoy discovering how people really lived in the ancient world, how our planet formed, how life began, or what lies in the farthest reaches of the universe, subscribe.